Have you ever been in a conversation, a negotiation, a moment of intense pressure, and felt a strange, almost divine pull to simply remain silent? Have you ever resisted the overwhelming urge to fill the space with words, and in that stillness felt a shift, a transfer of power that you couldn't quite explain? This is not a coincidence. It is your higher self, your inner guidance, whispering a profound truth about one of the most misunderstood and potent forces in the universe. It is a sign of your awakening to a deeper dimension of communication and influence. The ancient philosopher Niccolo Machiavelli once wrote, "Nothing destroys a reputation faster than talking too much." This isn't merely political advice. It is a universal law, a sacred principle of energetic exchange. You are about to unlock the spiritual armor that is forged in stillness, a strategy so powerful that it can reshape your destiny, a teaching that has been hidden in plain sight, waiting for those with the wisdom to perceive it. If this message resonates with the frequency of your soul's journey, let your presence be known in the digital ether. A simple 111 or 777 in the comments is a signal to the universe and to us that you are in alignment with this truth. Like this video to anchor this frequency into your reality, and subscribe to our channel to continue this sacred awakening together. You are not alone on this path. Imagine the scene. The year is 1971. The very air of the planet is thick with the tension of the Cold War, a fragile peace balanced on the knife's edge of nuclear annihilation. In a grand hall in Beijing, two titans of global power sit across from each other. On one side, Henry Kissinger, the American master diplomat, a weaver of words and complex strategies. On the other, Chinese Premier Zhou Enlai, a figure of profound stillness. For 40 excruciating minutes, Kissinger speaks. He lays out America's intricate position. He justifies, he explains, he elaborates, pouring forth a river of information, a torrent of strategic details. And through it all, Zhou Enlai remains a mountain of tranquility. He does not nod, he does not shift. His expression is a placid lake, reflecting nothing but the moment itself. He utters not a single word. What happens next is a masterclass in energetic warfare. Kissinger, a man accustomed to controlling the flow of any dialogue, becomes unnerved by this impenetrable void. The human ego abhors a vacuum, and the silence Zhou created became a vortex, pulling more and more from Kissinger. The American diplomat, rattled by the sheer weight of the unspoken, began to talk even more. He filled the space not with strength, but with concessions, with extra details, with the very secrets that were meant to be his leverage. When Zhou Enlai finally chose to speak, the negotiation was already over. He didn't need to counteroffer or debate. Kissinger, in his desperate attempt to fill the silence, had already given him everything he wanted. This was not mere politics. It was a demonstration of a divine law. The one who controls the silence controls the reality. The one who rushes to fill the void gives away their power. This is the art of calculated silence, a divine strategy that has been practiced by the most powerful figures in history, a spiritual weapon that no one is teaching you in the open. Silence isn't emptiness. It is not the absence of sound. It is the presence of everything. It is the canvas upon which the universe paints its truths. The person who speaks first, the person who speaks most, is the one who is bleeding power, expending their vibrational currency. The one who remains in the stillness, in the calm eye of the conversational storm, is the one who accumulates power, who gathers information, who becomes the master of the exchange. This isn't about being quiet or passive. It's about a profound, active listening. It is about making others feel the weight of your silence, compelling them to fill that sacred space with their fears, their desires, their secrets, and ultimately, their surrender. By the time you finish this spiritual transmission, you will understand the 5 sacred rules of Machiavellian silence. You will learn how to wield this force to gain information, to command respect, and to manifest the outcomes you desire, outcomes that an endless stream of words could never achieve. Once you master this divine art, you will become vibrationally immune to manipulation. You will never be controlled by the words of others again, for you will have mastered the power that lies beyond them. Let me tell you a story from our modern world. a story about a young man named Alex. Alex was in the final stages of a salary negotiation for a job he had poured his heart and soul into securing. He sat across from the interviewer, his own heart pounding a nervous rhythm against his ribs. The offer came, $85,000. It was a good offer, but Alex knew his worth was greater. For days, he had practiced his counteroffer speech in the mirror. He had his points memorized, his justifications polished, his arguments ready to be deployed like a well-trained army. But just as he opened his mouth to launch into his prepared monologue, a piece of ancient wisdom, a whisper from his higher self, echoed in his mind. When they give you a number, say nothing. Just look at them and wait. So Alex did something extraordinarily difficult, something that goes against every fiber of our socially conditioned being. He closed his mouth. He looked the interviewer directly in the eye, gave a slight, almost imperceptible nod, and then he remained completely, utterly silent. 1 second passed Stan eternity. 2 seconds, the air in the room grew thick. 3 seconds, a universe of unspoken pressure began to build. The silence stretched for 7 seconds, then 8, then 9. The interviewer, a seasoned professional, began to fidget. His own discomfort became his enemy. He was no longer negotiating with Alex. He was negotiating with his own rising anxiety. Finally, he broke. "Well," he stammered, clearing his throat, "given your experience, we might be able to do 95,000, actually." Alex had just made $10,000 without uttering a single word. But he remembered the teaching. He held the silence. He allowed the void to remain. The interviewer, now visibly flustered, continued. "And, we could also add an extra week of vacation to the package." Alex had just gained $10,000 and a week of paid vacation, all without deploying a single one of his carefully rehearsed arguments. He didn't use a tactic. He aligned with a universal law. He understood what Machiavelli knew centuries ago. Humans are fundamentally uncomfortable with silence. We are programmed to rush in and fill it, and in that desperate rush, we expose our weaknesses and give away our divine power. The first sacred rule of strategic silence is this: create a power vacuum. Nature abhors a vacuum, and so does the human psyche. When you intentionally withhold your words, you create an energetic void. This void is not passive. It is an active, magnetic force. It pulls on the other person, creating an internal pressure that they feel compelled to resolve. They will rush to fill that void with words, and those words are golden nuggets of truth for you. They will offer more information. They will reveal their underlying motivations. They will expose their insecurities. And they will often make concessions simply to ease the discomfort of the stillness you have created. Think of two people in a room. One is talking incessantly, explaining, justifying, defending. They are painting their entire inner landscape for the other to see. They are giving away their position, their energy, their power. The other person simply watches and listens, revealing nothing. They are a mirror, a blank canvas. Who appears more powerful? Who is in control of the situation? The one who speaks is giving away information. The one who listens is collecting it. The one who speaks is seeking validation. The one who listens possesses an inherent authority that needs no external approval. Remember this truth. In any interaction, the person who is doing most of the talking is the one who is losing. I learned this lesson the hard way. In my very first business negotiation, I made a critical novice error. The potential partner looked at me and asked the classic question, "So, what's your bottom line here?" Eager to prove my honesty and build what I thought was trust, I immediately told him my minimum acceptable deal. I thought I was being transparent and building a foundation of goodwill. Instead, I had laid all my cards on the table in the first 5 minutes. I gave away my entire negotiating position, and in that single moment of verbal generosity, I lost an estimated $50,000. The negotiation ended exactly at my bottom line, not a penny more. The next time I faced that question, I applied the silence strategy. After the question was asked, I simply looked at them thoughtfully and said, "I'm more interested in hearing what you think is fair first." Then, silence. Complete, unwavering silence. They laid out their entire position, their budget, their constraints, their hopes for the deal. I had all the information, while they had none of mine. That negotiation ended with a deal that was 40% higher than what I would have initially accepted. You must learn to create this sacred void. Let others rush to fill it with their power, which they will gladly hand over to you. The second sacred rule is to be the strategic observer, not the eager contributor. The human tongue is a beast that few can master. It strains constantly to break free from its cage, to spill forth thoughts, opinions, and emotions. But this is not just a philosophical musing from ancient wisdom. It is a tactical warning. Every single word you speak is a piece of data, a fragment of information that someone else can use against you. Every moment of silence you maintain is power you retain for yourself. Have you ever noticed that in any high-level meeting, the most powerful person in the room is rarely the one doing all the talking? The CEO, the true leader, often speaks the least. They ask one sharp, pointed question, and then they lean back and observe. They watch who jumps to answer first. They notice who looks to others for validation before speaking. They perceive the subtle shifts in body language when the uncomfortable truth is approached. They are not participating in the chaos. They are witnessing it from a higher frequency. In those precious moments of observation, they are collecting data points that others are freely and foolishly giving away. This was a strategy famously employed by President John F.T.F. Kennedy during the Cuban Missile Crisis, a moment when the world held its breath on the razor's edge of annihilation. He was presented with a tempest of conflicting advice from his military advisors and diplomats. The hawks screamed for war, the doves pleaded for peace. Rather than immediately jumping to a decision or engaging in endless debate, Kennedy employed what historians now call deliberate silence. He would ask a penetrating question and then remain quiet, allowing the silence to hang in the air long after someone had finished speaking. Uncomfortable with this prolonged stillness, his advisors would begin to elaborate further. They would often contradict their own original positions, reveal hidden motives, or expose the weaknesses in their own arguments, all without him having to challenge them directly. His silence was a filter, stripping away the noise of ego, fear, and ambition, leaving only the pure, unvarnished residue of truth. This strategy revealed crucial information that helped him navigate the crisis and prevent a nuclear war. You must become this strategic observer. Detach from your ego's need to be heard, to contribute, to prove your intelligence. Your power does not lie in what you say, but in what you are able to perceive when you allow others to reveal themselves. When you learn to speak less, 3 magical things begin to happen in your reality. First, your words, when you do choose to speak them, carry infinitely more weight. Scarcity creates value. When you are not constantly offering your opinion, the moments you do contribute are treated as significant events. People lean in, they listen intently. Your words become like thunderclaps in a quiet room, powerful and impossible to ignore. Second, you collect far more information than you give away. You create what is known as information asymmetry, and information is the currency of power. By listening, you learn about your opponent's desires, their fears, their strategies, and their breaking points. You are mapping their entire inner world, while your own remains a mysterious, uncharted territory. And third, others will, without fail, reveal their own positions, priorities, and weaknesses in their attempt to get you to speak. Your silence acts as a form of psychological pressure, a gentle but relentless force that encourages them to expose the very things they intended to hide. This is not manipulation. It is allowing the natural law of human interaction to work in your favor. You are simply providing the space for truth to emerge. This is the foundation of silent authority. The third sacred rule is to know your silence breakpoint and learn to consciously extend it. This is a trainable skill, a spiritual muscle, not a fixed personality trait. For most people, the discomfort of silence becomes unbearable after just 3 or 4 seconds. This is their breakpoint, the moment their conditioning takes over and they feel an uncontrollable urge to speak. Your mission is to master this internal trigger. When I first began practicing strategic silence, I could barely maintain it for 4 seconds before feeling a wave of anxiety, a desperate compulsion to fill the space. So, I began to train. I started practicing daily, First, in casual, low-stakes conversations with friends. I would ask a question, and after they replied, I would silently count in my head on 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000, pushing myself to stay quiet just a few seconds longer than felt natural. Then, I brought the practice into professional settings. I would ask a question in a meeting, and then I would silently count, challenging myself to reach 5 seconds, then 7, then 10. Within a month of conscious practice, I could comfortably maintain silence for 15 to 20 seconds, far beyond most people's breaking point. The results were immediate and dramatic. I started winning negotiations I previously would have lost. People began revealing information they never intended to share. My perceived authority skyrocketed. Here is how you can train to extend your silence breakpoint. First, start with those low-stakes conversations. Don't try this in a major negotiation on day one. Practice with cashiers, with friends, in casual settings where the outcome doesn't matter. Ask a question, then silently count the seconds after they finish their response. Set a target of just 2 seconds beyond your current comfort zone. Second, practice maintaining relaxed body language during the silence. This is crucial. Your silence must project confidence, not anxiety. Maintain comfortable, steady eye contact. Lean back slightly in your chair, not occasionally to show you are engaged and to encourage them to continue. Your posture should say, I have all the time in the world, not I'm about to explode if someone doesn't speak. Third, pay close attention to the valuable information you receive when others break the silence first. This positive reinforcement is key. When you see how much you gain a better offer, a crucial piece of information, a revealed weakness, it will motivate you to continue practicing and extending your silence. This isn't about creating awkwardness for its own sake. Strategic silence is about creating a fertile space where truth can emerge. When people feel the void of silence, they often tell you what they are really thinking, not just what they had planned to say. That is when masks drop and reality appears. The fourth sacred rule is to use minimal words for maximum impact. When you do finally choose to speak after a period of strategic silence, your words have immense potential power. Do not waste this power on unnecessary elaboration, on qualifiers, or on seeking validation. Your words should be like a spiritual sniper's bullet-precise, targeted, and impactful, not like the scattered spray of a machine gun. You must consciously remove weak, qualifying phrases from your speech. Words and phrases like, I think, maybe, in my opinion, or this is just an idea, but immediately dilute your power. They signal uncertainty and invite challenge. Instead, make clear, declarative statements. Eliminate justifications and lengthy explanations unless they are specifically requested. Let your statements stand on their own, imbued with the authority of your silence. After making your point, immediately return to silence. This is perhaps the most critical part. Resist the urge to soften your statement, to backtrack, or to fill the ensuing silence with jokes or nervous chatter. Let your words land. Let them hang in the air. Allow the other person to process the full weight of what you have said. Contrast these two approaches. The weak approach. Well, I think maybe we should consider possibly going with the second option, because it seems like it might be better for our timeline, if that makes sense to everyone. This is a weak, meandering statement filled with invitations to disagree. The strong approach. The second option meets our timeline. Then, silence. Notice how the second approach forces others to respond directly to your position, rather than giving them multiple points to pick apart or disagree with. This is silent authority in action. The great boxer, Muhammad Ali, understood this principle instinctually. At the height of his career, an interviewer asked him to recite a poem. Ali paused, looked directly into the camera, and replied with what is considered one of the shortest and most profound poems ever delivered. Me, we, just 2 words. Then, silence. In those 2 words, and the silence that followed, he encapsulated the entire human experience, the journey from individual ego to collective unity. He understood that authority doesn't come from explaining yourself. It comes from forcing others to contemplate the depth of your words. The fifth and final sacred rule is to let your silence define your boundaries and your strength. Your silence is not just a tool for gathering information, it is a declaration of your inner state. It communicates that you are not easily swayed, that you are not desperate for approval, and that you are comfortable in your own power. When you refuse to be rushed into a response, you are subconsciously signaling that your time and your thoughts are valuable. You are teaching people how to treat you. You are setting a boundary that says, I will respond when I am ready, and on my own terms. This creates a powerful aura of respect and even a little bit of mystery. People are naturally drawn to and intrigued by those who seem to be operating from a place of deep inner calm and self-possession. They begin to wonder, what do they know that I don't? This is the essence of gravitas. Furthermore, in moments of conflict or when you are being challenged, silence is your most powerful shield. Instead of reacting with defensive words, which only signals that the attack has hit its mark, respond with calm, deliberate silence. Let the accusation or the criticism hang in the air, unsupported by your emotional reaction. More often than not, the attacker, unnerved by your lack of response, will either backtrack or reveal the true weakness of their own position. Your silence communicates that you are unshakable, that their words have no power over your inner peace. This Machiavellian principle isn't about being mysterious for its own sake. It is about understanding that true power is an inside game. It is a life philosophy that puts you in absolute control of the flow of information and energy in every single interaction you have. Let's review the 5 sacred rules of Machiavellian power in silence. 1. Create a power vacuum that others rush to fill. Use the inherent human discomfort with silence to your advantage. 2. Be the strategic observer, not the eager contributor. Gather information while others expend their energy. 3. Maintain information asymmetry at all times. No more than you reveal. 4. Know and extend your silence breakpoint. Train yourself to become comfortable in the stillness. And 5. Use minimal words for maximum impact. Let your carefully chosen words land with the force of your accumulated silence. The Chinese negotiator I mentioned at the beginning, Zhou Enlai, was once asked about the impact of the French Revolution. His famous reply, "It's too soon to tell." Historians and diplomats have discussed and analyzed this profound 4-word response for decades. That is the power of strategic silence combined with minimal, carefully chosen words. It creates an impact that endless talking never could. In a world where everyone is desperate to be heard, be the one who truly listens. In a reality screaming with noise and distraction, the most powerful frequency is the one that emanates from stillness. Master the silence, and you will master your reality. Embrace the stillness, and you will hear the divine whisper of your own sovereign power.